Now it's time for our clash. So, some top UK universities are offering training to students who are involved in sex work. According to reports, Durham, Leicester, Manchester and Newcastle are inviting undergraduates to access tools to help them navigate challenges they might face when escorting, performing on webcams and stripping. In a statement, Durham University said this: "We are aware that some universities have identified engagement in sex work as an emerging trend among students. We've responded by working with external experts to develop a resource guide and training to ensure that staff and students are able to access and offer appropriate support and services. We want to ensure that students can be safe and make informed choices, and staff are able to respond effectively to such disclosures." So, tonight we're asking pretty straightforwardly, should we legitimise the sex industry, especially when it comes to university students? Here to debate this with us, we have a political commentator and a student at Durham University, the wonderful Sophie Corcoran, and Glamour model and OnlyFans star, Carla Bellucci. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us tonight. Sophie, I'm going to start with you. You're a student at Durham University and you raised this issue as well online, I saw. What's your view on this? Does it feel like universities are legitimising sex work in your view?
Yes, I do. And first of all, I think before we start this discussion, we need to stop sanitising by using the word sex work. It's prostitution. Let's call it what it is. It's not sex work, it's prostitution. And I think that universities are trying to wrongly push people into sex work, and I think that they are taking advantage of students' financial vulnerabilities in terms of the fact that, you know, we're all poor, for example, and we want to make money. That's just the way it is for students. So by encouraging and facilitating students to get into sex work, they are taking advantage of their financial vulnerabilities and putting them in a career that is incredibly abusive and dangerous.
OK, Carla, I'm just going to throw that same question over to you, really. Do you feel like we should be legitimising it? Is it legitimising it, especially when it comes to students, for example?
But are they pushing people to do it, or are they advising people to be safe? It's a big difference. Because you guys can anyone can make their own decision on what they're going to do. For example, I'm an OnlyFans model, and let me take that away, I'm not a prostitute. I don't prostitute myself. I post sexy pictures online, no nudity. So there's so many different ways of thinking about it and like going about it. Like you're saying, it's prostitution. You can't class everybody that's on OnlyFans or everybody that is doing some sort of glamour work as a prostitute. That is a really, really heavy statement to make. And I think universities should advise people because it's not an easy industry. And I think there should be a lot of education about it because I think especially young girls, you guys need it. Because people think they're going to go on OnlyFans and become rich, and it's not as easy as that. There's lots of dodgy people around. There is lots of things that need to be educated. So I think if they're just advising you, I think it's a good thing because there do need to be more like advice on it.
Okay.
Why is it so taboo?
Yeah, OK, Carla. Sophie, if people are going to do it anyway, you could argue, you know, if people are going to do drugs anyway, then what we do in schools, don't we, is we warn people about some of the risks attached to that and maybe slightly safer elements of doing it. Whereas, you know, with this now, if a load of students are doing it, and they are, let's be honest, should we not maybe be having a situation where we can advise them on how to be safe whilst they do it?
Yeah, I think that we should be advising students how to navigate the world of sex work, and by advising, I mean how to get out of it. We talk about being progressive. Well, in my opinion, the only way of being progressive in this whole situation isn't bringing women into sex work, it's getting them out of it, getting them away from it, stop encouraging them to be exploited for their bodies in a very, very dangerous career. And I think we're really treading a fine line here between sort of destigmatisation in terms of people going for advice and support and glorification. And I think we've actually gone to the glorification side. It's things that, you know, this is going to be a controversial, but because of my own life experience, is something that is also happening with mental health at the same time. It's the same thing, you know, we want to destigmatise it, but we've crossed that line for, you know, removing the barriers where people come to help. It's now in a way of glorifying these careers that really should not be glorified. OK, I suppose, Carla, just to throw back to you, some people would say if you remove the elements of it being a taboo industry to go into, then in a sense, I suppose, you are normalising it, and in a sense, maybe that encourages more, mostly women, I suppose, to get into it. What do you think?
But I think it's each to their own. You know, it's always around us, you know, sex sells, you know, music videos, all sorts of stuff. It's around us all the time. And if somebody chooses to go into that line of work, why shouldn't they? Like for me, my job, I love my job. I love what I do. You know, I don't prostitute myself. I don't I can honestly say, and I know I can't speak for everybody, but I've not had any negativity in the industry. It's been very positive. It's been life-changing for me. And I just think as long as you're safe and you've got the right guidance, obviously, like you said, two different things, prostitution and, you know, certain sex work, it's different. You know, some people work in porn, which isn't what I'm about, but respect for the people that are, but they are in a safe environment. Not everybody is in a really dodgy environment. You know, it can be a safe industry, and I think that's why they do need to be the guidance. I don't see a big deal because, like you said, so many young girls are doing it, and not everybody's forced to do it. It's a choice.
No,
not everybody's forced.
I think you've identified a really interesting point there, Carla, just sticking with you on this for now. The difference between potentially something like what you do regarding OnlyFans or sexy pictures, etc., and escorting work and the more physical elements, shall we say, of that industry. And look, I know that there are a lot of people who are at university now who, yes, I'm sure are on OnlyFans and do webcam work and things like that. But there are also a lot who are escorting as well, actually physically escorting. And I think that's maybe more of the centre of our discussion at the moment, which is that actually should universities be kind of, in a way, offering guidance on that, as it were, and talking about that, as opposed to coming down on it and saying, don't do it, girls, you know?
But if that's what their life choice is and they're safe about it, why shouldn't they do it? I don't, you know, like I said, it's not something I would do or want to do. But if somebody chooses to do it, and as long as they're in a safe environment, why should they be talked out of it? If it's a choice, you know, they're 18 plus, it's what they want to do. They're going to do it anyway, so they just need the right advice.
All right, Carla. So, Sophie, I suppose one of the elements of it is it consensual, right? Does any woman feel through their own 100% consent and not through some pressure they're being put on in their life circumstances, some pressure they're being put on financially, to actually get into the more physical elements of sex work? Is it a free choice, in your opinion?
I think this is my main concern with the whole doing it at universities. Because we are in a really vulnerable position financially. It's the first times that we've ever moved away from our homes. We're having to buy everything ourselves. Most of us are on student loans that don't even cover half of our rent. And we want to make money. Like, that is just a reality. And when they're presenting this as a viable option, you know, people are going to take it, but are they taking it for the right reasons? And is that preying on students' vulnerability? Yes, it absolutely isn't. And I think there are some things. You know, you say it's their choice, but dealing drugs is a choice. It doesn't mean that we should encourage it. And I think there's some things that should always remain stigmatised in society for good reason, and sex work is absolutely one of them.
What do you think about the kind of work that Carla does?
To me, I think there's a degree where OnlyFans, I wouldn't actually class it as sex work. It's glamour modelling. Do you know what I mean? We see the likes of Kim Kardashian in naked photos in Vogue. That's glamour modelling. I wouldn't... there's parts of OnlyFans that I would consider as sex work, and that's why this discussion, I'm talking, again, about the prostitution aspect, the escorting, etc., because I don't really see a lot of OnlyFans, most of the genuine content, as sex work. I mean, people post photos of their feet, or like Margaret Thatcher OnlyFans. You know what I mean? It's not all. It's not all. That's a good idea for me. It's not all. It's not all sex work. So I don't think we can use the OnlyFans as an example. This is about the prostitution and the escorting, which is going to be encouraged in university towns where there's lots of clubs and lots of places, especially in places like mine, like Newcastle.
Yeah, and lots of and a never-ending cycle of demand as well. Carla, is there a safe way to be an escort?
It's not what I've ever done, so I
didn't mean it like that. I meant in your. I didn't mean it like that. I meant in your opinion. You know, is there a safe way?
Again, I wouldn't want to say. I'm sure there is. I'm sure people are safe, but I'm sure there's some real dodgy aspects to it. I'm sure it's like two-sided. I'm sure you'll speak to one girl and she'll say, "I love what I do," and you'll speak to someone else and they'll say they've had a bad experience. That's like everything in life, I think. You know, I'm sure there is a safe way to do it, and I know people have their limits, and I think as long as it's a choice of yours and you're not pressured into it, to me, it's, you know, I said it's not what I'm about, but it's okay if it's a life choice. And temptation's all around. You're saying about the money thing. I get, well, I haven't been to university, I've been in that position, but I understand, like, with the money thing, it must be really difficult, like, to want to earn quick money, but then temptation's around, isn't it, with drugs? But it's up to the person to say no. Or it's up to that person to be strong enough to have that willpower to say, no, I don't want to do sex work, I'm better than this, or it's not what I'm about.
Yeah.
I'd rather earn in Starbucks or...
No, I think that's a fantastic point. And Sophie, as well, it's important for us to say, I know I've centred the discussion really so far around, like I said, the more physical elements of it, like your escorting and prostitution, but it's not all that this is about at all. There is things like stripping and stuff like that. And, you know, people did fight and indeed die for women's rights, and presumably some of those rights encompass their right to decide that they want to be a stripper.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is not a call to decriminalise? No, decriminalise. No, it is legalised. It is legalised.
It's all right, you got there in the end, it's fine.
Legalise, for some reason I get confused with teenagers. To legalise sex work, as in make it illegal, this isn't a conversation about that at all. It's about the fact that universities and educational institutions shouldn't be presenting this as a method that women should want to go into. And I think the ultimate beacon of progressiveness, and the reason why this is such a problem is because society as a whole has become very sexualised. We saw the Netflix film Cuties, where like little girls were in like skimpy shorts and like bras, and we see lots of little girls doing that. So society has become very sexualised. It's been seen as progressive to want to sell your body to be, you know, to be very sexual, and I don't think that's right. And I think the ultimate progressive nature that we could do with sex work is to encourage women to get out of the industry as opposed to come in.
Carla, is there an argument that, and I know this is absolutely not been the case for you personally, but is there an argument that the OnlyFans thing can maybe almost be like a bit of a gateway? Like, once you've made that decision, some people would then find it more easy to make the decision to go into some of the other elements of the industry as well. Is there an argument for that at all, do you think?
But I suppose, like, you have to be careful, and this is why I mean it'd be good, like, for girls to get educated on it, because obviously, like you said, it could be a slippery slope if you've not got that willpower to, like, say, no, this is my limit. But again, that goes back to me with the temptation thing. Like, it's around us, it's everywhere. You know, you've got to be in life, in everything, strong, because temptation's out there for everything. I said, spending money, drugs, you know. Yeah. And I think as long as, like I always said, as long as the choice of the girl or whoever's in the sex, or the male in the sex work, as long as it's their choice, I don't see a problem with it, because, you know, you're adults, you're entitled to make a choice. And some people might love what they do. Yeah. Some people they might argue and go to you, no, I love being an escort. It's amazing. I love the money. I don't know, the glam. I'm just saying. So what then if you've got some girls that choose and it's what they want to do?
Well, I suppose as well, another argument is, well, as long as the demand exists, and if we really, for whatever reason in society, wanted to stop, you know, the prostitution or escorts, things like, maybe a way of doing it would be educating, let's be honest, mostly blokes to not want that, potentially. You could flip it on its head and say that, couldn't you? God, when did you first start getting involved with the OnlyFans side of things? And as well, would you actively recommend it to other women?
For me, I was like a year and a half ago, I actually went onto the website. And like I said, for me, I've earned a lot of money from it, life-changing money. It's been massive for me and for my family. Like, it's really changed us. It's like, you know, gave me power to be able to buy a house, to do massive things. So for me, I'm going to say it's a positive experience. Obviously, it comes with some negativity, like everything comes with a price. I think you've always got the stigma with you, but as long as I'm happy and whoever's doing it is happy, I just think that's all that matters.
I suppose there's that element as well, isn't there? So, can you just outline to me a bit about maybe some of the specifics about what the university are doing? Because I know that you noticed this at your university, for example. So, what was the actual process like for you? Did you see a poster about this one day? Were they advertising classes? Just talk me through that.
So every single week, I think it's every week at Durham, we get an email from our Durham Students' Union. And they sort of tell us, you know, what's going on. So we have, you know, the NUS elections coming up. And at the bottom, I sort of scrolled down because I wanted to have a look at the NUS elections because I want to cause chaos, of course. I scrolled down and it said, like, sex training, like sex work training. I was like, hang on a minute, you've got to be joking. Like, there's no way. And I think we always talk about education. And for some reason, this is always framed as, oh, we should educate girls how to navigate this safely. When in actual fact that we should be educating girls how to get out of it completely. Okay. And I've got a question for you. If you saw a young girl, if you had a daughter...
Just for me, yeah?
No, for...
Carla.
Yeah. Carla. If you
I've got two.
There you go. You can ask if you want, Patrick. But
that's all right, I think I'll stay out of this one.
if you had a daughter, or, you know, would you ever say would you want them to get into sex work? And would you... would you want them to have that choice?
No, I wouldn't want them to go down that line. But if they did, I'd want them to be educated about it and get as much advice there is out there. It's not what I would want them to do. I would be advising them not to be a sex worker, because it's just not what I'd want my daughters to be doing. But like I said, as long as their advice, there's only so much you can do to stop, isn't it? All we can do as parents is advise.
But the question is then, if you don't think this career is in any way suitable for a child that you call your own, that you would love, what makes it different for any other young woman in the country? Whatever their background,
but it's up to them. It's a life choice. That's what I'm saying.
It shouldn't even be a picture in their life.
Go on,
they
go on,
should
Carla.
just get out.
Go on, Carla.
Yeah, but it's a life choice. That's what I'm saying. Like, if my daughters came to me and said that's what they were going to do, what could I do other than advise them and give them the best advice that I possibly could?
It's that flip side of living in a free society, isn't it? That sometimes you have to take it on the chin when someone makes a decision that you don't yourself necessarily personally agree with, if it is their own free will. But look, can I just say what a fantastic clash this has been, and thank you both of you very much. I'm sure that everyone watching this, I've certainly learned different angles to this particular story than I'd thought about before, and I'm sure everyone at home will have done as well. So thank you so much. It's obviously their political commentator and student at university, Sophie Corcoran, who's not the particular lady on the screen at the moment there, that's fair to say, and OnlyFans star Carla Bellucci, who was that lovely lady on the screen that you just saw there. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. That was our clash, and what a fantastic clash it was indeed.